What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So as promised, delivering you guys Aaron Rodgers 2023 New York Jets training camp stats, unofficially of course, but it would be interesting to kind of compare what we have here from a statistics perspective to what we've all seen from the training camp highlights if you've been in person, and then of course on my hand I've been able to break down the majority. I might have missed one practice, but basically all of the training camps up to date. So I have a pretty good feel for what Aaron Rodgers has been able to excel in, some areas that the offense may be limited in, at least early while things are still being ironed out, still installing a somewhat new scheme, getting used to Aaron Rodgers and what he's going to demand of his offensive personnel, etc. So let's go ahead and dive into it. For disclaimer's sake, all of these statistics are coming from Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. He put out himself. These are all going to be based on 11 on 11 practices for one, which means we're excluding stuff like quick huddle drills, red zone drills, 7-on-7s, stuff like that. So if the numbers seem skewed a little bit, that'll be why. And then he also did mention that he missed 2 practices, and then in some of the other ones, of course, just where the fans and the media may be set up, it's going to be hard to really determine where the ball is being thrown to and kind of who's being targeted in certain occasions. So to the best of our knowledge, this is the best summary of what Aaron Rodgers' offseason does look like that we'll find. So let's dive into it. For starters, we have, of course, the sexy numbers. He's thrown 268 passes, completed 170 of them. That gave him a completion percentage of 63.4%, and he's tossed 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now, eyeball test wise, this makes a lot of sense. Again, I've covered a lot of the camps, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what shouldn't be accounted for in terms of those being 7-on-7 drills versus, actual 11-on-11 team components. So the numbers sound and generally look right. Aaron Rodgers definitely had multiple touchdown days. It's more impressive, especially considering we've seen a lot of very bad days due to the offensive line allowing pressures left and right from Aaron Rodgers. And so still seeing him put up numbers like these is a feel-good sign that with some of the extremely slow days we had in, maybe the first or second week of training camp, where we heard a lot of the players mentioning, sometimes they have no idea what the hand signals are even meaning, wrong routes and different things like that still being run just while they're installing this offensive scheme makes a ton of sense. So let's get into the target shares, right? Who has been Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets throughout the offseason? And I took a look at this list. There's literally no real surprises in terms of who the top targets are. Garrett Wilson being our number one guy makes a ton of sense. 35 targets. He's been able to haul in 22 of those. Keep in mind, Garrett Wilson was also out for a couple of weeks rehabbing his injury, where the New York Jets were kind of playing it safe, and we just started getting him back. So you can imagine Garrett Wilson's going to be running away with the lion's share of opportunities to go out there and secure wins for the New York Jets this season on offense. Allen Lazard, 28 targets, 16 catches, makes a ton of sense. We have 5 years worth of chemistry between the two. With Corey Davis unexpectedly retiring, those numbers will look even better for Allen Lazard as long as he can stay healthy. If we think back to his original signing, a lot of people, the two main school of thoughts were Allen Lazard is a younger, better version of Corey Davis. I wasn't in that particular party. Definitely thought Corey Davis was the better all-around player. His health just kind of really took a pretty big hit for him. And then the other school of thought was that Allen Lazard was at least a one-for-one replacement over Corey Davis. You weren't going to see a huge fall off in terms of stats or what can be done with him, since they have very similar skill sets. And if anything, you can at least say that Allen Lazard's ceiling is higher as him being a younger guy. So Allen Lazard, things look good for him. He's out right now with the AC joint problem, but we've seen some very impressive work from him, especially within like this last week and a half with some of the catches going on. And We talked about this briefly maybe a month ago about him having very shaky hands. Still seems like that could be a problem that comes up, but there's definitely been progress made in that area, I would say. So hopefully that continues into the regular season for us. Michael Carter, third on this list, technically tied at second. Him and Alan Lazard both had 28 targets. With Michael Carter, basically just swap his name out with Breece Hall / Dalvin Cook, right? Dalvin Cook, obviously a new signing. He hasn't been with us. Breece Hall has been rehabilitating for pretty much the entire offseason. So there wasn't going to be really any connection between Aaron Rodgers and either one of those two players. And Michael Carter is going to fall down to, at best, running back 3. And that's probably the safe bet, right? Nobody else really has overtaken him. Bam Knight's done better in practices, but Michael Carter's performed better overall between practices and the actual preseason games. And Izzy, I would say, is a safe distance behind either one of those two players. But you can see the young explosiveness and his ability to go out there and make things happen as a positive attribute to this team. Fourth, we have Tyler Conklin, our tight end 1. He's made plays the entirety of the offseason. We haven't had to worry about, really any missed time, chemistry issues. We've seen him attacking all levels of the field, being a strong red zone presence for Aaron Rodgers, and we know Aaron Rodgers' affinity for his tight ends and being able to get the most out of them. So Tyler Conklin could potentially look like a top 7 tight end this season under Aaron Rodgers' tutelage, which is exactly what we would expect, right? We haven't had much of a tight end presence since the days of Dustin Keller, really. And so it'll be nice to see them being a focal point of this offense. We chatted a little bit about kind of how much of an impact they may have, and basically I think we averaged out at like a 44% share of the targets when it came to the quarterbacks versus the tight ends in any other position, and I'd expect that to continue. It's just going to be that much more effective because you have the precision passing from Aaron Rodgers to help things out. Then we had Randall Cobb, again, chemistry, I want to say a decade plus of like playing time between each other, but I know he bounced for a bit. So let's say about 7 to 8 years worth of playing together. They know all the tricks of the trade. Aaron Rodgers has been able to develop multiple slot wide receivers, and Randall Cobb favoring, he's kind of getting a boost up the target share hierarchy with Corey Davis retiring again, and this is going to be his specialty bread and butter. And he's come off some very hot practices, not only pulling off impressive catches, but having a fair bit of separation. So I'm actually pretty excited to see what this will look like with Randall Cobb in the slot. Starting for us anyways. I imagine that'll change as the season progresses. Aging guys, you're going to want to find a way to make sure you can keep him fresh for the playoffs. But again, in terms of what the offseason has looked like and how he's contributing, makes a ton of sense. It's even more so impressive because we didn't sign him right at the beginning of training camp either. So obviously he came in and went right to work, making sure he still had Aaron Rodgers' trust, and showing some of the younger guys why he's still in the league. After that, we had Mecole Hardman, 12 targets, 6 catches. Not bad, really. He's the boom or bust guy in this wide receiver room because the speed is elite. The health is a concern, but there's so many things you can try to do with him. He's going to be our ultimate gadget guy, and I know we talked about opening up his role as a primary reason for bringing him here and what the New York Jets staff believe they can do. Hopefully they find a way to unlock him because right now, I would imagine if you want to go deep, you're going to see a lot of those go routes that allow him to kind of hit some double moves, try to get him in that 20 to 35-yard target range, or you're going to operate out of the short passing attack. Obviously, he'll have some jet sweeps, some end arounds, but then you're talking about being able to send him out to the flat real quick or hit him on a slant route to try to, take something to the house. Otherwise, there's not really many other surprises on this list. Corey Davis targets, they'll get split up among the top guys. CJ Uzomah, tight end 2 at the moment. Jeremy Ruckert not far behind him. And you guys know me. I feel like at some point we will definitely see Jeremy Ruckert overtake CJ as long as he can remain healthy because he's been probably the biggest highlight reel in the tight end room with what he's been able to do. Conklin being the most consistent, CJ showing he can still be that yards after catch beast, and then Jeremy Rucker just being the young guy in the room that seems like he can do everything pretty well between blocking, receiving, climbing up the ladder to get catches, being a red zone presence. So that plantar fasciitis that he struggled through last year seems to be a thing of the past, and great news for us because it seems like he definitely was still able to go out there and develop off of the mental reps. Malik Taylor probably not going to make the roster. Nick Bawden, potentially fullback, won't make the roster. Kenny Yeboah, tight end 4, this makes sense. I would imagine that he'd probably see less than 15 catches this season, even when he does see the field. Jason Brownlee is wide receiver 5 or 6. If we don't find somebody else to replace that role, probably still going to see low count. So everybody else below him either probably won't be on the roster or they're going to be main core special team guys anyway. So we're not expecting to see a ton of them until there's opportunities for them to try to step up when we are able to. So from my personal analysis, again, and kind of what I broke down for you guys, a lot of that seems on par with everything that we've heard. Some of the best attributes from Aaron Rodgers this training camp, of course, the accuracy. We've seen plenty of the throws where, maybe only 4 quarterbacks in the league are going to be able to complete the same kind of passes. The chemistry piece to the accuracy question, I think, is critical as well. Garrett Wilson, Randall Cobb, and I want to say Alan Lazard have probably been the best recipients of Aaron Rodgers being here and kind of building that chemistry. Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, again, they made plenty of sense, but with Garrett Wilson, he's been able to do it so quickly, and there's still so much room for progress. I mean, there's been plenty of throws still where Aaron Rodgers can't quite figure out how quick Garrett Wilson is coming out of some of his breaks. And so you may have some passes behind him, some that aren't, even close enough to catch. But Aaron Rodgers has slowly been chipping away at some of those misunderstandings. And we're seeing more and more big plays between him and Garrett Wilson to complement that. Alan Lazard, proof is in the pudding. Take the last practice, for example, where he was able to pinpoint a pass where only Alan Lazard could get to it in the end zone, where Sauce Gardner had the best coverage you can ask for. And, again, we're not talking about a smaller guy that's doing great things. 6'3" cornerback, he should be able to stop 99% of the passes if his technique is perfect. And that 1% is what we signed Aaron Rodgers for. We're obviously going to make up for a lot of the other deficits between what Zach Wilson's skills are and Aaron Rodgers' skills are. Play action, another huge emphasis for us. We haven't seen the strongest run game during training camp. There's 2 reasons for that. Obviously, we didn't have our best running backs out on the field. The second piece would also be the ever-changing offensive line that was in front of us, testing out Max Mitchell, testing out Billy Turner, Mekhi Becton being in for some periods and portions, some not so much for others, not having Dwayne Brown the entire time, and then more recently seeing Laken Tomlinson, AVT go out, Joe Tippmann looking great, and then him kind of catching the knee bug injury. So there's been a lot of shakeups, a lot of variety, a lot of our best guys at the point of attack, not all being on the line at the same time and creating a cohesive unit. So that should improve dramatically. We've seen it with Breece Hall already on the field when he has been able to contribute in practices. He's hitting the second and third levels extremely quick. And so he'll be able to help mitigate a lot of those concerns as well. But Aaron Rodgers' best ability has been play action off to the right, being able to roll out, much like we've seen with Zach Wilson. This offense is centered around being able to do things like that. I will say I haven't seen the same escapability. Obviously, we're talking about a guy that's almost 40, but or somewhere in that ballpark. But I haven't seen the same level of escapability, and I'm not even comparing it to Zach Wilson, just, from even a year or 2 ago. He still has some wiggle to him, but the wheels work. He's not going to be able to outshift a lot of guys, but we've seen him contribute in the running game as well when necessary still. So I'm looking forward not only to the Giants game, again, kind of seeing how most of our starters finally being on the field at the same time will look. But I'm in favor of this game happening, at least with our starters playing in this game, I should say. We need more of a dress-up rehearsal than just going through a million training camp practices. And then hoping for the best, especially with the first game being a division opponent. You at least want something you can compare it to favorably. The Giants are definitely a strong up-and-coming team. But overall, you want to be able to say against a different defense, what can this offense truly look like, right? So hopefully we get maybe 2 or 3 series unless things go extremely well. And then we just go ahead and pull them in, better safe than sorry. But I would probably say the only other areas of concern really will be, of course, the offensive line. But when it comes to Aaron Rodgers specifically, the hand signals, how much of a impact will that still be? Especially with potentially some newer guys being in the rotation. Again, with Corey Davis being out, seeing who we try to pick up off waiver wire cuts. The escapability for sure, and then I would probably say how much do we try to lean on including the running backs in the receiving game right away? Breece Hall having this ACL, Dalvin Cook having that shoulder concern. Do you want to necessarily expose them to any more injury risk than necessarily you need to when you would value their rushing ability more than anything else right out the gate, when you can lean on your wide receivers and your tight ends, and we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, either way, appreciate you guys listening to a little bit of the thought process here behind this. Let me know what you guys think about Aaron Rodgers' stats and kind of how he's performed over the course of this offseason. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.